We'll read your emails, take your calls, and chat with some of the hottest stars in Hollywood. Tune in Thursdays at the PM show with me, Robert Conrad, right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio.
Tune in to the PM show with Robert Conrad, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN Digital Talk Radio, the original Talkback with yours truly, Chuck Wilder here. Paul Stern up there close to the Hollywood Hills, taking those toll-free calls, 1-800-336-2225. If you want to talk to Jim Corey, the famous Jim Corey, you can call now, 1-800-336-2225. We are live across America on this radio station or this cable system, and, of course, around the world at crntalk.com. crntalk.com. Tomorrow, you know, I always have these exciting guests. Tomorrow, Andrew McCarthy, remember him? He's the top terrorist prosecutor. If you think back to the first World Trade Center bombing. He's the one that got hold of those guys. He's the author of the best-selling book, The Grand Jihad. And we're going to talk about the Times Square car bomb suspect. You know, he pleaded guilty. And Andrew is saying, hey, the threat of Islamist terrorism continues to be a major national security concern. Rick Oben, media director for CAPS, if you're ready for this, stymied by their inability so far to pass an amnesty bill in Congress, guess what? The open border groups are now pushing for President Obama to implement an amnesty through an executive order. That's right. Pardon me. And you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is the 60th anniversary of the Korean War, and I've got John W. Spring, talk show host of Sound Off, writer, former candidate for U.S. Senate, going to talk about that, and also a story, interesting story, about British Petroleum, or BP. Did you know they were formerly known as Anglo-Iranian Oil? What a story. We'll also talk about the sinking of that ship by North Korea. They said they didn't. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. We'll see. And to wrap things up, Karen Harned, Executive Director of the National Federation of Independent Business. This one I couldn't believe. Worried about a constitutional challenge on the health care bill? President Obama now plans on a bait-and-switch game. They're now going to call it a tax. That's right, which won't be unconstitutional. It really gets interesting. All right. Right now, I want to go to Jim Corey, Vice President, National Association Chiefs of Police, writer for Examiner.com, News with Views, and the guy that has so many interesting stories you almost don't know where to begin. Jim, how are you, sir?
Oh, good afternoon. Hi.
I have so much going on here, I'm just going back and forth trying to figure out where I am, where I'm at, and I found out I was between the A and the T, as they say, something to do with don't put a preposition at the end. Yes, you know that because you're a world-famous writer. Now then, as I understand one of your pieces, well, you got a few that just came out today, and we'll get to those, but I guess, according to Jim Corey, that within hours of General Stanley McChrystal's ouster by President Barack Obama and his national security team, quotation marks, that the nation's largest grassroots pro-troop organization wants the general to start talking. Is that right?
That's right, and they're not the only ones. You also have some Congress people, some senators, everyone concentrated on the fact that McChrystal said or allegedly said certain things, and his subordinates also said certain things, but no one seemed to talk about whether the things that they were accusing the Obama administration of doing and Obama's capabilities as a commander-in-chief, no one seemed to even talk about that. The mainstream media concentrated on whether or not General McAllister, General McChrystal, I mean, was insubordinate. First of all, I don't believe he was insubordinate. That's my opinion. He wasn't given an order that he refused to carry out. comparisons between him and, for example, General MacArthur during the Korean War just don't hold water. General MacArthur was insubordinate. He wanted to run the war himself because he felt that the politicians didn't have the best interests of the military at heart.
Isn't it funny, though, Jim, that whenever you talk about General MacArthur, how history books, you know, you'll get one that'll say, FDR was smart enough to let him have his hand at what he was doing. Or they'll say, boy, just slipped my mind right there, but goodness, the president that dropped the bomb, boy, how can this be, talk about a mental block? It's coming to me here, I think.
Truman.
Truman, thank you. Boy, how in the world did that guy...
That's the president that's fired.
Yes, but Truman had the gutstos to get in there and say, no, I am the commanding chief for the... And you're not going to do this, but it's history, how people, right. Whoever you're picking your side, and that's what they're going to do right now. And isn't it strange? I saw a thing about the popular General Petraeus, and this was like a left-wing report that I read. The very popular General Petraeus was going to come in here. Boy, he wasn't very popular when Bush was president, and he was leading Iraq, and MoveOn.org called him Petraeus. And George Soros, I think, paid for the ad, but have they forgotten how they hated this guy?
Yeah, it's just, this is like Washington doing a complete 180 from the way they reacted to George Bush. When George Bush was president, and I was no big George Bush fan. Mm-hmm. When George Bush was president, you had generals denigrating his strategy in Iraq. You had Congress people and senators making statements to the media about what they thought of George Bush and his strategy. You even had Obama, who was against Petraeus at the time in 2007, practically making a speech on the floor of the Senate.
On the floor, yeah. I saw that this morning or last night.
Right, and all of a sudden now, Petraeus is their hero. Because I guess he's not going to do what McChrystal did. At least he's not going to do it in front of reporters. It boggles the mind why, although I could understand it also. I spoke to a friend who's been in combat as an officer. He also became a detective in New York. But when he was in the military, in a combat zone during Vietnam, he said, people in combat zones, they don't get much sleep. They're in conditions that are less than desirable, and sometimes they get loose with their lips as far as their commanders. And in this case, they were talking about the commander-in-chief, the top guy. And the sad thing is that we seem to find that no concentration on the accusations by McChrystal and his subordinates about Obama as a commander-in-chief.